Perfect. Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome and hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to another Hump Day edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out, and I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what's coming at you. And as you can see, we're gonna start to look forward to the 2023 season. Man, spring practice is almost over. The last few spring games will take place on Saturday. So we are starting to take that march to the start of the season. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to go through the schedule week by week and list some of the games that I'm interested in. Now, these are not necessarily games of the week, games of the year, because you can't really say that at this point because you don't know the makeup of a team at a certain point in the season. You don't know none of that. With the transfer portal jumping off like it is, teams can look different by the time the season come around. So these are just games I think that have some interesting storylines, or just games that I want to see. So that's how I'm going to approach this. With the end of spring practice and spring games taking place this weekend, Sunday I'm going to drop my way too early East order of finish, and I do like early record predictions and all that stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do on Sunday. Then Wednesday I'll have my West Division order of finish and way too early order of finish and predictions. And then as we get closer to the start of the season, you'll get my official order of finish and official predictions. And I'm gonna try to roll out an official all SWAC team once we get closer to the season. So got a lot of stuff I want to do as we head forward toward the season. So with all that being said, man, y'all check out the socials. They're on the screen down below. Facebook is SWACTalk, Instagram SWACTalk, Twitter SWACTalk76. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you have, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Like the videos and share them, and feel free to hit that notification bell to be alerted to any videos that I drop. Before I get started, man, I just wanted to say this. I know there's a lot of people who like on this anti-HBCU wave right now, man. They think that's the thing, to troll and to make comments about, we ain't doing this and we can't do this. Well, I'm gonna say this to you, bro, and then I'm gonna drop it. I just had to get it out there. I'll probably say it again tomorrow. But, bro, if you don't care about us, then why are you talking about us? We don't give a damn about you. And the way I feel is if you ain't shit, then I ain't gonna bother with you. So if you feel like we ain't shit, then don't bother with us. Move around, bro. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that, man, get that out the way, because that's something that I see that all the time. And it's like I'm not going back and forth with nobody online, so I just wanted to put it out here. And you could do with it as you will. But like I said, if you anti-HBCU, bro, just move around, because it ain't no need for you to even be here trying to tell nobody how things should be done and what we doing wrong. Now, if you got general concerns, legit concerns, and you talk it out in a rational manner, hey, it's all gravy. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's always good to have different opinions and people who don't see things the way you do. Y'all can exchange ideas. Maybe you can kind of come to agreement. But if you just, straight up, y'all don't know nothing, y'all wrong, y'all ain't doing nothing for nobody, then you can move around, because this ain't the space for you. So just move around. Anyway, man, with that out the way, let's go ahead and jump into my 2023 games of interest. And like I said, I'm gonna go week by week, and I'm just gonna run through this pretty swiftly. So obviously, week 0, Saturday, August 26th is the SWAC Challenge, Jackson State, South Carolina State, and Atlanta, 7 p.m. Kickoff time Eastern. There's not a lot that needs to be said why this game is important. It's the SWAC Challenge. The SWAC don't got a good record in this series. B is Jackson State and South Carolina State. Teams are vastly different, but this is still a rematch from the Celebration Bowl. A lot of people approaching it that way. Most JSU people are just looking to get their lick back off of South Carolina State, no matter what. South Carolina State, they're looking at this as this could be a springboard for them to start the season. To me, it's a game that the SWAC got to win. I don't care who playing in this game. The SWAC has to win it. And for Jackson State, this is Coach T.C. Taylor's first game, so that's something to really kind of ramp up the interest in it. And honestly, anytime JSU play, the game is probably going to be one of the games on the list because everybody is still in tune to what goes on with the Tigers. So obviously, week 0, the only game on the schedule with a SWAC team, so it's automatically a game of interest. But just the fact that it's the mid-SWAC challenge with with some of the stakes that they have, and this is why this game is important in it. And if you're gonna start in Atlanta and end in Atlanta, then you obviously have to play your first game in Atlanta. So that's my thoughts on week 0. Week 1, you got a lot of FBS matchups. So ain't really a lot of games on this list that's great. Central State and Valley playing in Chicago. Not necessarily a big game, but Valley is playing in 2 classics this year in the Midwest. So this is an opportunity for them to play in Chicago, and Kendrick Wade first game, possibly should be a win on the road. On the road, Valley doesn't really play well on the road, but this is a good chance to go out and get you a victory early against an opponent that you should be able to beat. So that's why that game is important. Grambling and Hampton in New Jersey, definitely a big matchup. Coach Hugh Jackson trying to get off on the right foot this year. This is a good matchup, not necessarily team-wise, but this is a good matchup with Grambling being able to take their brand on the road like they used to and play up in New York area. So this is definitely a good thing for them. Prairie View and Texas Southern is obviously a big game with huge West implications right out the gate. Texas Southern needs to beat Prairie View to stop that streak. Prairie View still, they're returning a lot of guys from last season, so they feel like they have some unfinished business because they feel like they dropped the ball at the end of the season. So if they want to make a march, it starts here. If TSU wants to make a statement, it starts here. So this is a big game in the West Division. This is one of only 2 actual conference games on the slate for week 1. So and both of them are very vital to each division. Maybe different levels of being vital, but they're both vital. The other game on Saturday that's interesting, it personally to me is Southern and Alabama State. It's not a conference game because Southern got this schedule where they playing like everybody in the SWAC except for Valley. So they this is a non-conference game, but it's still a good matchup. It gives Southern the opportunity to see where they stand against a very good defense. It gives Bama State a chance to see where their offense is at in week 1 against a defense from Southern who was really, really solid last season. So this will probably be a game that the defense is probably have a hold on. The team who can make the most plays will probably win this game, which you can say about any game. But when you have a team with a new quarterback and a team with a quarterback who wasn't consistent, and now their best running back has gone into the portal, that makes the offensive side of things a little bit different. So this is still a big game, and I plan to be in the Gump for this game, so that makes it extra important because anytime I need to see something great. Sunday, September 3rd is the Orange Blossom Classic. Not much needs to be said about why this game is important. No matter how you put it, JSU 1, FAMU 2, FAMU 1, JSU 2, FAMU 1A, JSU 1B, JSU 1A, FAMU 1B, however you say it, these are the top 2 teams in the East. And this game is probably the de facto East Championship game as it has been the last 2 years. I still feel like this game should be played later in the season because the stakes of this game are so high. It makes it more important to build to this later in the season as opposed to playing it first and then FAMU having to play catch up since they lost both games in this series in the series just since FAMU been in the SWAC. So this game is obviously important. FAMU, their schedule is not conducive to a playoff berth, so their Celebration Bowl a bust, and they need to win this game. Now, that's not to say if they lose this game that they can't make it. JSU might drop a game or two, but they're gonna need JSU to lose 2 games in conference if they lose this game. And not only that, but just the fact that you're building up to this game every year and you lose it, that makes that puts a big mark on your schedule. Now, FAMU's been able to run the table through the rest of the SWAC, other than those 2 games, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you can't beat the team that's in front of you. So if they want to take that step and really ensure themselves of making it to the SWAC championship game, they need to win this game. Jackson State, this is a big game for them, coming off of the MEAC SWAC Challenge, coming into a game that, like I said, has big stakes. So this is just a big game, and as long as this game is played early, it's always going to have that extra oomph to it. But I still wish it was a later in the season game. But it's week 1. It's Sunday. ESPN2 kickoff, ESPN2 broadcast. So gonna definitely have a nice audience to watch this game, and we'll see what happens. Week 2 is September 9th. The biggest game on the schedule is a non-SWAC game, but it's Southern and Jackson State Boombox Classic. I don't care how bad Jackson State beat Southern, how bad Southern had beat them in previous years. When these 2 teams match up, it's still gonna have that oomph to it. And it's in Baton Rouge, so it's gonna have a little bit of extra because obviously the capacity is not as big as the Vets, so you got to cram in people in there. So this is early season matchup. Both teams should be, feeling pretty good about themselves. It's a non-conference game, so the possibility of both teams meeting again in the championship game are there if both teams take care of business. So this. You can say it doesn't mean anything in terms of SWAC play, but this game still means a lot because this is a rivalry game, and anytime these 2 teams hook up, you definitely want to check it out. So that's my most interested game on the schedule. Another game that I like, there's a couple of non-conference games I like. Prairie View is playing Abilene Christian at home. I love Prairie View schedule every year, man. They always take advantage of the fact that they have so many FCS teams in Texas, and so they end up playing some of those teams at home, and then you play some on the road, but they get Abilene Christian at home. I think that's great to be able to get those kind of games at home. And Alcorn goes to Stephen F. Austin again, another game that's a nice matchup in the non-conference. Alcorn should have beat them last year. So now they get another run at them again. So those are 2 games I like. There's a couple games that are kind of local type. Well, not really local, but there's a couple games, with D2 opponents that can be kind of interesting. Lane, Alabama A&M, and Miles at Bama State. Those are 2 games to kind of keep an eye out on. But Grambling and LSU is a game that's probably going to generate some interest. Obviously, it's a money game for Grambling. But LSU played Southern last year, which was a historic thing, and this will be their first time playing Grambling. So that should be a historic thing. I feel like maybe if this game wasn't the same weekend as the Boombox Classic, you might have got an even bigger crowd. But a lot of people who may have went to LSU for that game are gonna be at Southern. So that still doesn't take away from the fact that this is Grambling's first time in Tiger Stadium against LSU. So this is definitely still a historic moment for the G-Men. Moving on to week 3, September 14th is Miami, Florida, and Bethune-Cookman in the Ed Reed Bowl. Not really interested in that game other than the fact that I want to see if Ed Reed gonna show up at that game and stand on the sideline in his Miami stuff and look crazy at Bethune-Cookman on the other side of the field. That's the only reason why I'm interested in that game. It's for the sheer fuckery. Alabama A&M and Southern is a nice matchup. 2 teams to see where, this is a measuring stick for both teams in this game. Jackson State and Texas State should be an interesting game. If Jackson State is rolling, this could be a very interesting game against Texas State. Texas State had a new coach. They have some new guys, and this should be a matchup that JSU brings a nice crowd to San Marcos. So they, maybe this can be almost like a Tigers home game, and they can get them a nice crowd, which can in turn maybe lead to a solid game. But that's definitely a game that you want to keep your eyes out on. McNeese and Alcorn. Alcorn beat McNeese last season, ending McNeese's 12-game winning streak over SWAC opponents. Sacked the hell out of the quarterback. Alcorn had 10 sacks in that game on defense. So this is another run at them. Maybe they can, start a winning streak against McNeese, and it can bleed over to some of us other teams. So Alcorn has 2 cracks at regional teams, home and away. Two good games on the schedule, right there. And other than that, I think I know this team, lost their coach and some other guys, but this could be an interesting game, and that's West Florida and FAMU. Just because West Florida has been a D2 power the last few years. I don't know where they at right now because their coach went to Towson. So we'll see, what they've done to replace that. So maybe it's not as stout as they have been, but maybe they still are. But this is a game that definitely is a kind of local game, Tallahassee, Pensacola matching up. So just kind of interesting right there. Valley going to Delta State is, a road game of the D2 opponent. Yeah, let's move on. Week 4, September 23rd. You got the Circle City Classic returning with one of the teams who played in the first Circle City Classic, and that's Valley. They're taking on North Carolina Central. So this should be a good, another game in the Midwest for Valley. Played in Chicago in week 1. Now they're playing in Indianapolis. So they get to kind of do a tour of the Midwest and play in 2 classics that have been kind of revitalized. Definitely, I love the Circle City Classic. So just seeing it back is definitely a good thing. How the game is going to go, who knows? But Central it probably will be rolling by this point. We'll see where Valley's at. There's a couple big SWAC games on the schedule this week. This week is like full of SWAC games. You got Prairie View and Alcorn. The West is obviously going to be probably just as crazy as it was last year. So all these games are very important. But you got Prairie View at Alcorn. That's going to be a great matchup. You got their rushing attack up Prairie View against Agent Zero and Nico Duffy. You got Alcorn up. Alcorn stole one from Prairie View at last season, so they want to get some get back. This game, Prairie View depends on how Prairie View do against Texas Southern. This game could really boost them in the West, or they could fall behind. So very important game. Alcorn's first SWAC game of the year. Big game there. Alabama State at FAMU. Big game for Bama State for sure. If they want to take that step into the next level, they need to win against FAMU or Jackson State. So playing in Bragg is going to be tough. Last time they played there, they didn't score. So they want to be able to prove that their offense has gotten better. Their defense, it should still be pretty stout. FAMU. Another tough game at home, but it's a game that they should be able to navigate. Grambling and Texas Southern, another big game in the West. Almost any matchup between Grambling, Southern, Alcorn, Prairie View, and Texas Southern, any of those matchups, you put those teams together, I'm gonna probably put that on my games of interest because I think the West is a 5-team race. I think Pine Bluff is too far out right now. But I think the West is a 5-team race, and so whoever comes out of that mix with the best record is probably going to win the division. So Texas Southern and Grambling is definitely going to be a big matchup in Grambling. TSU, if they beat Prairie View, they got a chance to take go 2-0 in the conference and 2-0 in the division. Otherwise, this is still a lot on the line for both teams early. Week 5 is September 30th. Got the State Fair Classic, Grambling and Prairie View. Prairie View's won that game the last few years. So if Grambling wants to kind of get some things going, they have to win this game. Prairie View playing a third division game early in the season. This is vital, man. If they win their first two games, then they could take a nice hold on the division with this game. If they lose them both, they can find themselves kind of kind of struggling to tread water. If they win one, lose one, they're still in good shape. Grambling, same thing, playing Texas Southern the week before. Big game, another big game. Other than that, the Bama State Alcorn game is kind of interesting. When those two teams hook up, sometimes crazy things happen. So I would keep my eyes on that game to a degree, but it's not make or break. But that's probably the only other game of interest. Tuskegee and Alabama A&M is Alabama A&M's homecoming. This should be an interesting game just because these two teams haven't played in a while. I think they have, but Tuskegee, and that's a good matchup, and it's homecoming, so it should be packed out. Week 6 is October 1st. October 7th. My birth month. Libra's in the house. You got Jackson State and Alabama A&M in Mobile. Last year the game was closer than it probably should have been. This year we'll see. Where Jackson State is, and Alabama A&M also. We'll see where they at. You should have a really good idea of where both teams are at this point. You got Southern and FAMU playing in Baton Rouge. Southern can't get over the FAMU hump. FAMU for Southern is like Jackson State for FAMU. It doesn't really matter who's the coaches or who the players. You tend to come up short in that game. So this is a big SWAC game for Southern. Obviously, it's not do or die because those division matchups are really the most important. But Southern, they're gonna have they're gonna have a big matchup at home, tough matchup at home. Then you got Grambling and Alcorn again, continuing that those big West Division games almost every week. Grambling ambushed Alcorn last year, so I'm sure the Braves gonna want to get them some get back on the reservation. So, like I said, you take those 5 teams, Alcorn, Grambling, Prairie View, take Southern, and you put them together in a game that's gonna make my list automatically. So the West, I think, should be very, very interesting. Week 7, October 14th. That's my birthday. I love football. I love SWAC football on my birthday. You got Jackson State and Alabama State. That's a nice matchup. Obviously, these two teams have been going back and forth. Jackson State's been winning the last few matchups. Alabama State did win in the spring, but Jackson State won the last 2 regular season matchups. Again, just like I said with the FAMU game, if Bama State wants to take that jump, they need to beat FAMU or they need to beat Jackson State. So this is a very important game for the Hornets to show that they belong in the top part of the division and not just being the 3rd team in the division or if you want to call it being the tallest midget out of the last 4 teams. So if they want to prove that they belong, they need to win one of these 2 games, and they're both on the road, so that's tough. So we'll see, but this game is always going to generate a lot of interest because there's been a lot of back and forth going on in this game. Prairie View at Houston Christian, used to be Houston Baptist. Not necessarily a big game, but again, another FCS regional opponent for Prairie View, so I like that. Other than that, Alabama A&M and Grambling, that's going to be one of the games that depends on how the season going. And then you got, but this is interesting for, I don't even know if I want to say the wrong reasons, the right reasons, but Valley and Pine Bluff hook up. So this could be one of these teams' only SWAC win, or this is one of those games that probably ain't gonna really mean a lot, but you still want to kind of check it out to see how it affects those 2 teams at the end of the season. October 21st, which is week 8, light slate, 4 games on the schedule. None of them are big games. This is probably the only week that you don't necessarily have a big game, but probably the one game of interest that I have on this, if I had to pick one, is FAMU at Texas Southern. This is FAMU's first trip to Houston since like the 50s. So this could be a good matchup. If both teams could be in position for in their respective divisions. So, this is probably the only big matchup that we have on the schedule. Other than that, this is a pretty light week for games of interest. Week 9, you have a few big games on the schedule. You got the Magic City Classic to start off the games of interest. Obviously, that's always a big game. Bama State snapped the losing streak to A&M last season. The Bulldogs want to get back on the right track. This is a very important game for both teams. This could be the game that impacts who finishes third in the division and who finishes in the mix of the last 3 teams. So still, no matter what's on the line, these 2 teams could be first place and last place, and this game would still be a very big game. So obviously, this game automatically makes the list. It's just one of those games that automatically makes the list, no matter what the teams are like. Maybe if the teams aren't good, outside interest may not be as big, but this is still a big game to always look at. You got Prairie View at FAMU. That's a big, that's another matchup with FAMU against a Texas team. This time they get Prairie View at home. So Prairie View could be, in position to make a move. They had that run of early division games. They could be in pretty good shape coming into this game. FAMU, same thing. So this could be a nice East versus West matchup. Could be a preview of the SWAC championship. I'm just saying. I'm not, I'm not throwing no predictions out there right now. But I'm just saying this could possibly be a division, a championship game matchup. So definitely want to keep your eyes on that. And the most interesting game to me this week is Texas Southern at Southern. Southern finally gets TSU at home for the first time in a long, long time. I think 2016 was the last time they played in Baton Rouge. TSU then won 2 straight against Southern and they shut them out last year. Southern, got to get some get back. This is a very, very big game to me, just for personal matters. So definitely want to see Jaguars, get one back on TSU. But this is another game that's going to impact the West Division. I feel like no matter what play, no matter if both teams are high in the division, one is high and one is low, this game is going to impact the division at some point. So this is definitely a big game to me. Finally getting TSU at home should be big. Moving on to week 10. TSU and Jackson State kicks off that week for me. That's November 4th. Could be a preview of the SWAC championship game. This could be a game that TSU makes their mark. This could be a game where JSU solidifies who they are by how they play this game. So definitely a big game. Last year's game had some hype, but it wasn't close. We'll see if TSU can close that gap this season. Southern going to Alcorn for the first time since 2019 when they went twice and lost twice. So this is Southern's first time at Alcorn since the pandemic. So definitely a big game. Anytime these 2 teams hook up, it's always a big game. And when these 2 teams play at Alcorn, it's definitely a big game. So Southern's won the last 2 games against Alcorn. Alcorn feel like they had both games taken away from them, so they want to get the revenge in this game. So should be a great atmosphere in November. This is a big division game. Probably a lot on the line in this game. So we'll see. And then the only other game, I got another. I'll say that one for last. Grambling and Alabama State playing in Mobile. Could be a very interesting game. This game could definitely impact both sides, but it probably is going to impact Grambling more because I feel like, with that West being the way it is, you need every win that you can get. So I think this will be a big matchup. Definitely vital for Grambling. And then you got probably the battle for who doesn't finish last in the East. Valley and Bethune-Cookman. These 2 teams had a spirited matchup last season. Kind of had a little bit of a scuffle after the game. The last 2 years, these 2 teams are kind of, they kind of didn't win at each other. So got a little chippiness brewing in this game. We'll see if that carries over. Got 2 new coaches on both teams. So we'll see if that carries over. Bethune-Cookman gonna have, probably I feel like a lot of issues going on this season. So we'll see if this can be the game they rally and win. Valley, definitely a big game for them on the road to either add another win to their total or to be their first SWAC win. So definitely something on the line in that game. Week 11 is November 11th. Alcorn and Texas Southern, big matchup. TSU came to Alcorn and spoiled their homecoming last year. So obviously the Braves going to want to get them some revenge. TSU, maybe a good opportunity for them to solidify their hold on the division or keep pace or whatever. For both teams, definitely a game that's going to impact the West Division. You also got Prairie View at Southern. This is a low. I don't know if I want to call it a rivalry, but it's a game that definitely has some emotions. I don't know how big the emotions will be this year, this year as opposed to last year, but definitely a big division game. Like I said, with the TSU Alcorn game, where these two teams match up, where these two teams stack up in the standings, this game is definitely going to impact them, and it's going to impact everybody else in the West. So definitely a big matchup there. Other than that, not much else on the schedule that's of note this week. Week 12 is November 18th. The biggest game this week, obviously, is Alcorn and Jackson. That's always going to be a big game in Jackson, so the crowd's going to be huge. This could be a preview of the SWAC championship. Maybe this be the year that they play at the end of the season. Then they play after a week off. So this could be a matchup of the SWAC championship. This could be a preview of that, depending on how both teams come in. You obviously got the Florida Classic. Records aside, Bethune-Cookman's their issues aside, this is still going to be a big game. I don't think Bethune-Cookman is going to win it, but this is always going to be a big game because it's a rivalry. And as always, you just never know what might happen in this kind of game. But I think, fam, you should be okay in it. Those are the two big games this week, and obviously the final week of the season is week 13. You got the Turkey Day Classic, Tuskegee and Alabama State, the way it's supposed to be. I don't like to see Alabama State play nobody else in the Turkey Day Classic other than Tuskegee. So it's back the way that it should be this season. So they lost the Turkey Day Classic to Pine Bluff last year, and Tuskegee's historically had a good run in this game. So this should be an interesting matchup. And obviously the Bayou Classic on Saturday, November 25th, could be the deciding game for the division, whether it's winner take all, or the winner needs this game to jump ahead of somebody else, or stay ahead of everybody else, or the loser can spoil somebody's season, or it could be two teams just playing out the string. A lot of scenarios, but this is always a big game. Southern and Grambling, obviously, when they match up in New Orleans, this is going to be a great atmosphere, and it's going to have stakes regardless. But this could be, like it has been in previous years, winner take all. So not saying that it will be, but it can be. And that leads us to the SWAC championship, which can be could be any number of matchups. Right, this is probably maybe just like last year, the most wide open series. Guessing who gonna make it to the SWAC championship game. So that'll be the end of the season right there. And then the Celebration Bowl follows that. Those are the last two games, and those are the games of interest. Depending on what anybody else does in the regular season, maybe a playoff berth for somebody. We'll see. We'll see how that falls as we get to it. But obviously, Celebration Bowl finishes off everything for the SWAC, and those are my games of interest, man. Like I said, I feel like there's a lot of weeks with some really good games. There's only like 1 week with not a lot of big games. At least sitting here right now, who knows? When you get into the season, maybe some of those games that look like they're not nothing could be something. You just never know. So when I do my games of the week, maybe one of the games I didn't pick would end up being the game of the week because scenarios change, you know, so we'll just see. But that's going to do it for today's show. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. And catch us on SWAC Smoke tomorrow, live 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to chop it up about Bama State spring game, transfer portal, you know, and whatever else y'all bring to the chat. So we'll definitely be back tomorrow, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.